UK roundtable discussion. We've done this on our blog the last few years, but we've decided that this is the time to bring the discussion to life here on video. Killing the radio star with me are Sam Ainger.
Evening, Jamie.
Hello. Peter Dadswell.
Evening.
And Michael Smith. How are we today, gents?
Good, cheers, thanks.
Very well, very well. What about you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I am in with Manabria at the moment, the delicious Italian lager. So, this is a good way of starting an evening. So it's going to be as it always is. I'm going to open a number of questions out to the guys on the round table. I'll chip in a bit, but I'll leave the talking to them because they're a lot better at it than I am. So. Firstly, and I'll start with Mike on this one. What for you has been the biggest positive of this season?
Oh, it's easy. I think it's Joe Burrow. We have landed, without question, the franchise QB to hopefully lead us for many, many years to success, to playoff success. Dare I even mention AFC Championship success?
Woo!
See what I did there? See what I did? And also, what's so refreshing is the man came in as a serial winner at LSU. His first couple of games, he still looked the part like he'd been playing in the pros for many years. And in the case of the past 6 or 7 games, the guy's just got better. His pocket presence, when you compare him to that first game against the Chargers, away at the Browns, versus Jadeveon Clowney and the Titans, it's completely night and day. I just think he brings an aura of confidence about him, and the guy's already a born leader. Look at the replays when he goes in for those rushing touchdowns. When he tries those QB sneaks on the 4th and 1s, all the teammates rush around him, high-fiving him, pat on the back. The guy, I actually think this team is already willing to run through walls for him. So, without question, the man who can throw a pea through the eye for polo mint, it's Joe Burrow.
Oh, I'm liking that. Sam, I'm guessing that Burrow is going to be pretty high on your list as well. Are there any other positives that you've drawn out of this year?
Well, the positive is the Joe Burrow. I'm just going to piggyback on mine. It's just what he's done already. I mean, it's the optimism he's brought for the fans, for the organisation, and another thing, it's one less position for the fans to moan about as well. Now we've got him, we've got the guy, he's the franchise, and he's. Well, can I say 2 things? It's Joe Burrow and Tegan's, the connection that they've got already. It's for me, Joe Burrow. It's like Mike said, he's going to be the franchise. He's the franchise already. What he's done already is just incredibly special. He's a born leader, and he's just shown everything that a fan wants to see in a rookie. It's just his presence, his personality. It's everything, and I'm so excited for many years to come, and we all should be. And when calling it exaggeration, but I'm seeing greatness in him already. And when I say great, I'm talking like great. I think there's going to be people talking about him for many years to come. And I'm just so excited. I just can't wait now. And we all should be, like I say. So, Mike, I'm just piggyback on you, basically.
Yeah, I thought that when Burrow came in, the high level that we get from him this season is for him to look like an NFL-ready quarterback. Yeah. His pocket presence is off the scale. His movement within the pocket is incredible to me, and it does feel like you're getting Brady on Michael Vick's legs or something like that. It's something we haven't seen in a long time. Dadders, now obviously I'm not expecting you to pour cold water over the Burrow hype here. Do you? Is that your big positive for the year?
I mean, yeah, clearly it's clearly Burrow. I mean, and with apologies to Dockers, this guy's different gravy altogether. It really is, and he is our future. But rather than repeating everything that's been said by the guys, the other positive to me is that I think the Bengals are starting to win the fans back, because the football's great. The games are great. We've not won enough. We know that, and they would be even better if we'd won the games. But the Ravens game aside, we've been in every game. We felt like we've got a chance against everyone, and we haven't felt like that in a number of years. We've got an offense which is clicking, and that's even despite a poor O-line. The optimism is there, the excitement is there, because we can all see where we're going with this. We've just got to be patient, but we can see what lies ahead of the future, and it's exciting. I'm enjoying every single game now, except that Ravens one, obviously, and so that's the real positive for me this season.
I totally agree, Pete. It's like with, I almost feel like it's not been talked about enough. Like with the Bengals being in, like you said, being in every game pretty much apart from the Ravens. It's more about the charge. It's like, people talking about the charge all the time, just to know that they're in these games and then they lose at the last minute. It's the Bengals have been in every game pretty much, other than that Ravens game, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I know people are talking about Burrow, but I almost feel like he's not getting enough credit, and the Bengals overall aren't getting enough credit for it. So, yeah, I completely agree with what you say. Yeah.
You make a great point, Dadders, about winning the fans back. Well, you have your moments about winning the fan backs.
Haley's comic comes over occasionally.
Every 86 years or something like that.
Yeah.
What's it like when it was discovered? Just to think, when the quote madness of COVID-19 is over, and we're allowed the 67,000, whatever it is, at PBS, that first game back with Burrow leading the charge.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
It's just going to be the nines all over the place, isn't it? Just everyone's just going to be coated in a jersey with number 9. The atmosphere. I'm wanting to invest in a brand new 60-inch surround sound, 4K sub bar. Just turn it up to 11 just to hear the crowd. When they cheer out his name. I mean, it's gonna. I think personally that alone is worth, you say, putting your score ahead, intimidating the opposition coming in. To me, it's what we have this season is a great positive, but it's what we're sowing as well for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the young fans coming through have got someone like him to identify with. A Joe, the Joe Burrow, as you put out, Savage. I think we'll call him that now in the singular, the Joe Burrow, just to to bring it home.
And as well, boys, is it just me, or are you looking massively excited to the next primetime game, like when the fans are in? Because Joe Burrow's going to light up, I think. I think he's just made for it.
I think the envy that I have for our American friends, our American cousins over there who get to enjoy the experience, go to the tailgates, enjoy the atmosphere in the ground, see it live, that we don't across this side of the pond. That envy is going to be multiplied by a factor of 10 on that game you talk about, Mike, that first game when there's a full PBS and Joe Burrow runs out there, and that's just going to be fantastic.
I mean, all due respect to Andy Dalton and TCU, Andy Dalton did great things at TCU. Joe Burrow can command that crowd at Death Valley for LSU, the pit, essentially, where literally teams have gone in there. The great college teams have gone there and just quake, and Joe Burrow can just command them. But I think if you can take that away from there and bring it to PBS to silence the doubters, silence the unfortunately it's the loud voice that with the Bengals or within the Bengals fandom, those the moaners, as you say.
Yeah.
What I say, he can do that, and I cannot wait to see that when COVID's over.
Yeah,
I agree. But there is a similarity that can be drawn. LSU have always been a good team. They've always been competitive. They've just not won. They didn't win the national championship. They've always had a great secondary. They like to call themselves DBU. But their offense, no. I mean, yes, they've had the likes of Landry and OBJ and what have you, but they weren't known as a winning side. Yeah. Burrow comes in there, Burrow turns them around, and all of a sudden they're winning. Now what's he doing? Comes to Bengals, right? We've got some decent defensive players. We've got considered we have a decent defense. Offense spluttering over a number of years. He comes in. He's turning us around. He's making us interesting again. So he's doing at the Bengals exactly what he did at LSU.
Now, Pete, I'm going to slightly puncture the bubble of optimism that has grown around this conversation now, because we'll move on to the next question. So we'll start with you, Pete. What has been your biggest negative so far this season?
The free agency dollars that have been sat on the sideline. I mean, it's not the Bengals' fault. Every team has injuries. Our injuries have been with the players that we brought in to make us better. That's really unfortunate. I pray to God that it doesn't put Mike Brown off subsequent free agency splurges, because it's necessary. But it's been disappointing that we've not had the return from our free agents that we really, really hope so. But a lot of those free agents are on multi-year contracts, so we have to look at subsequent years to see the benefit for it. But that's my biggest disappointment so far.
I totally get that. I mean, particularly for me, DJ Reader being out multiple weeks has definitely weakened the middle of our defensive line. Sam, what's your thoughts on kind of the more negative side of this season?
I mean, it's more made me sad, really. And I think it's for a lot of fans. You know, what it seems like the decline of AJ Green and Geno Atkins. It just feels like it's on a massive decline now, and the fairy tale is almost like coming to an end. And you know, I hope I'm wrong, because AJ's shown flashes the other week, as we all saw. But with Geno, I just don't know what's going on. I can't work it out. I know he got injured at the start of the season. Well, was it in pre-season? Was it in the off-season when he got injured? And so I don't know if it's like after effects of that, but it's more that really. It's more, like I say, it's like made me sad that those two great players from, like, you know, AJ in 2011 and 2009, 2011, Geno and AJ. It's just, the fact that they're on the decline now from what it looks like, and we're gonna have to.
We can't have their reputation tarnished by this one season. I think AJ Green has just started to find his feet, and there's a chance that even if he puts up 650, 700 yards this season, 600 to 700 yards. Okay, it's not the AJ Green that we know, but at least he'll go out with something a little bit more positive.
Yeah, of course. But
Gino's got to get on the pitch.
Makes it awkward with the AJ thing, if he gets 700-800 yards a season, which is a big ask, you know, considering where we are now in the season. You know, what does that put him in you know, contract situation wise? Where do we go there? You know,
I think T. Higgins was drafted as his replacement.
Well, this is out. I agree. Yeah. We'll get onto that in a bit. But I agree.
What do you say, Mike?
I think with AJ, he's not a spring chicken anymore. Father Time has caught up with him, and it is harsh when you see that happen to such a good wide receiver. But I think in the last couple of games, we've seen a bit of a reimagining of AJ Green, and I think he is capable of perhaps becoming a more of a possession-based receiver over time. Someone like Anquan Boldin really sort of springs to mind. He was one, you know, just for straight down the middle pace alone, and he had to evolve over time in order to keep himself relevant. I think AJ can do that, but I think I don't think you'll see anywhere near as big a contract as he. I think the days of the tens of millions of dollars contracts for AJ Green's over, and that might not be with us. It might well be with another team. I hope it's not. I hope he stays forever and ever, and you know, he goes on to coaching, and that'd be fantastic. But his legacy is assured. I just don't think he's not a down the middle separation receiver anymore. That the crown has got to be handed over to Higgins now. That's been and gone. But possession wise, nothing wrong with being a possession based receiver. No. You know, Tom Brady made a whole career about throwing to possession based receivers. Plenty of teams have won Super Bowls throwing it out to possession based receivers. AJ can find a place for himself there, but I think when it comes down to contract renegotiation, that's when we'll really see whether he stays or goes.
Do you know what else has been a real bummer with this? Remember, like 2 years ago, maybe 2 to 3 years ago, all Bengals fans are talking about Geno Atkins, AJ Green, yes, Hall of Fame. They're both on track for it. 2 years later, it's like, no, none of them are probably going in.
Hall of Very Good.
Yeah,
We're going in the Hall of Very Good.
It's all right. It's all right. They're going to be replaced by Joe Burrow and Tyler Boyd. It's all right.
Yay!
Don't worry.
So you're enjoying this?
And Jesse Bates.
Oh,
all right. Now, I'll move us on to the next question.
I don't get a negative then. That's my negative.
Give us a bit of a negative, Michael.
I'm not going to. It's not. Believe it or not, it's not the offensive line. It's not the defense last few games. My negative is a disappointment that we have got an absolutely stellar special teams unit this season, and we are not taking advantage of it whatsoever. How many teams over the years have had a great offense and a great defense, only for their special teams units just to completely let them down? It's still a third of the game. It's still a key aspect of the game, and sometimes we find ourselves in fantastic field position because of our special teams. Brandon Wilson's also burnt off a great return. He's not obviously taken to the house, but you can see there's one coming. But we're not taking full advantage of that yet. And that is a real disappointing factor, that we've got this, quite simply, this Pro Bowl caliber special teams unit. Darren Simmons is I'd probably say he's the best coordinator in the game. He's got a fine craft of what he does. And we're not taking advantage of it. And it's so frustrating to see that. It's so annoying as a fan to see that, we pinned them back, and then they'll just go and dig and dunk down the field, and then we're down a score. So for me, it's the rest of the team not feeding off how good the special teams unit has been.
Yeah, 2 testaments to Darren Simmons. First one, he's the sole survivor of the last regime because he's that good and they know it. And secondly, his biggest advocate in the NFL is Mr. Belichick.
Yes.
And there is no better on the CV than that, I think.
Now, do we think that Darren Simmons is head coaching material Sunday?
Well, I know you do, Jamie.
It could well be. I mean, Sean Payton was special teams coach, weren't he?
And
it's not very often it happens, but...
And the Harbaugh at Baltimore was special teams.
Not Sean Payton, Harbaugh, yeah. Yeah, John Harbaugh, yeah. That's what I meant, not Payton.
Why ever not? Why ever not? Why, there's no reason why special teams can't be an agency.
True.
And he certainly knows the organization. He'll certainly have the respect of the players because he touches, pardon the phrase, players on offense and defense. Yeah. Unlike an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator who only know the players on offense or defense. Because special teams take players from offense and defense, he knows them all.
Yeah.
And that's often why I think that they are undervalued as a potential head coach candidate.
It's just play calling, though, isn't it? You know, in the situation, play call. How much do they know about play calling?
Well, not all HCs call play.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and most shouldn't.
Yes. So I'm going to start with Mike on this one because I kind of blew out your question last time, or blew out your point last time. What's been your favourite moment of the season so far?
I'm probably just going to go a bit chicken out here rather than on the pitch, but just drafting Joe Burrow, I think was the absolute was the lift for me. Just that number 1 overall pick, and typical Zach Taylor leaves us on tenterhooks for about 7 or 8 minutes before actually the pick is announced. But when the call was made, the interview that happened, the hat was donned, the jersey number is signed. For me, it's quite simply the draft, and I felt across Twitter and across our community there was a real sense of togetherness that night. And there were fans who, I'd followed perhaps on Twitter that had laid dormant for years, and all of a sudden it was like, do you know what? I might get a jersey. I might, I'm going to follow the team this year because Burrow's there, and it just gave me a bit of a sense of there is unity there amongst the darkness, out of the murkiness. there is actually there is so much potential with us to unite as a fan base and to really to drive things home and to really ride off the crest of a wave at the good time. So when we were drafting Burrow, and quite frankly, there's been quite a few moments already on the pitch that I think that Joe Burrow is going to be, or is the guy to take us forward. So I'm going to say drafting of Joe Burrow was my highlight this season.
I love that one, Mike. That's great. I love that one.
Mike, you'll talk about the unity that we saw in the fan base after we drafted him. I would suggest it was shortly before. We all knew we were getting him, and we all had reasonable faith that the Bengals wouldn't mess this up and go and pick someone else. Most of us did. But then the unity came when Bengals started turning against the mainstream NFL media, who were then criticizing Burrow, who were then saying typical Bengals thing to do. And it was great to see Bengals fans turn on this mainstream. Was it PFF? Pro Football Focus. Yeah, they turned on them because every single day they were posting.
It was pro Football Talk rather than Pro Football Focus.
Beg your pardon, I apologise.
Don't anger since don't anger them, the Cincinnati-based PFF, if you're listening.
Yeah, but it was great, and that to me that started the unity there. Piggyback off that, I mean, I'm a big college fan. I enjoyed the college football. I was on Joe Burrow very early. Watched him, loved all the games. And so to me, that was a slam dunk. It was going to happen, and I see that as last season, not this season. For this season, just seeing the way he's hit the ground running, and that he looks like an NFL quarterback of 3, 4, 5 years experience, not 3, 4, 5 games of experience.
Yeah.
That's been the highlight for me. But also T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins, there was a lot of criticism of him, saying he's too slow, doesn't get separation, he drops into the second round. We went and got our man, and he is on course to beat out AJ Green for a number of yards in his rookie season. He probably won't do it because of his first couple of games where he didn't really play much, but he's close, and he's a hit. I'm a draft guy. I love the draft, and I know the Bengals have had a lot of criticism about their drafts, but I love what they've done. Round 1, round 2, round 3. These are starters for many years to come. We smashed this draft, and that's been fantastic.
We absolutely did. That's the prime thing for an organization to do. If you can draft 1, 2, and 3 rounds and make them starters, you're onto something.
Which we haven't done since what, 2000?
Exactly. Yeah, I think Teagan's a different style receiver to AJ Green. I think it's because when AJ Green first came out, it was more Dalton just throwing wide out, towards the side, and Higgins is just a bit of both. I think his possession, I think he's out wide. He's so tough. He's really, really tough, and he's almost like the perfect receiver, but it's not quite as polished yet.
I don't think the fans are as
to do that.
I was going to say, Mike, what were you saying?
I was just saying, when the first season with AJ Green with the streaks, Dalton had Andrew Whitworth protecting him in the pocket. Yeah. He had a good offensive line, and I think that's sadly to say you're not going to see that from Burrow yet.
No,
but when you do,
Agreed.
and Higgins, when you do, bombs away.
I think perhaps the best testament to Higgins right now is the fact that the pain or distress that the Bengals as a group of fans might show at the prospect of losing their AJ Green has lessened, because in this half season we've seen the future. We've seen T. Higgins, and we've said, okay, he's the next guy. He's our next guy. Whereas for the last few years, Tyler Boyd's great, but he's a different type of wide receiver. We've not seen who the heck is going to replace AJ Green. Well, we've got him now, and the fans are looking forward much more than looking back.
All right, so Pete, for you, what has been your favourite moment this season?
Well, the success of the draft would be my favourite moment. If it's an individual, then I can't deny that the end of the last game, the Titans game, that win, it was a statement win. It was a statement win because it was against a good side, very good side. A win that no one expected us to get. We're sticking two fingers up at the mainstream NFL media, which is always great. It felt, here we are, we're ready now. We've been in games. Now we put this game away. We know that the second half of the season, we've got some, on paper, easier games. And that win just before the break, the bye week rather, was just what we needed in readiness for this second half. So I think that game, I think the Titans game as a whole, that was my highlight.
And what about you, Sam?
I'd say looking back, it's might not be my favourite play like now, but at the I'm just thinking when I was there at the time watching it against the Chargers, rookie had it. Burrow was a rookie, he had his ups and downs in that game. But when he made that play, I think he changed the protection, and when he made that play where he fought to rush for the touchdown, he stayed patient behind Trey Hopkins and just got in, just spike ball, and I just thought in that game he's shown a load of balls and a lot of character, and for a rookie that says a hell of a lot. And in that game, if you remember, we were in it still. Well, with the Randy Bullock kick at the end. But we were right in that game, right to the end, and a rookie quarterback doing that, I was just mesmerised by him. I just couldn't. I was just so excited and pumped.
But for Randy Bullock's left or right calf, that could have been the perfect kind of exclamation mark on the end of Burrow's debut. He didn't play exceptionally well during the Chargers game, but in the final 2 minutes, he managed to get the team in a position where they could go and win.
Yeah, and he just showed a lot of balls in that game.
When the moment comes, when the pressure's on, you need that big play. When the ball is in the hands of Burrow, you have a lot more confidence that it's going to come, rather than when it was in Dalton's hands, because Dalton withered in the most pressurized moment, right? He withered. I mean, we know his stats for prime time games. Burrow looks like it's the reverse. He relishes that opportunity. Yes, that's maybe the youth in him, but he relishes that. He wants to be the man. He is the man, and he wants that opportunity to kill those games off.
He does. And Mr. Hiron's going to put it better the other week when he was talking about Burrow, and I completely agreed. And when he was saying that, when the camera pans, when the ball's thrown, you almost like when Burrow's throwing it, you almost know that it's just going to land in the receiver's hands. You have so much faith and confidence in it.
You don't hold your breath like you did with Dalton. When Dalton threw it over 15 yards, you're holding your breath.
Camera just bounces all over the place.
Yeah. Whereas with Burrow, you feel a lot more assured.
Yeah, I don't want to be an hypocrite to Dalton because I love the guy, and I always had every faith when watching, but I did feel a little bit sick at the same time. So yeah.
Well, there's a reason why Dalton's got the record for the most number of TDs. Right? He wasn't rubbish, but he just, especially off script.
Yeah.
And Dalton was great when he had great players around him. He wasn't someone who elevated talent around him.
You're a game manager.
Burrow will elevate players around him. I'm absolutely convinced of that. He will make them better.
Yeah.
Okay. This will be the final question where we're looking back at the season that has happened up to now, and then we'll start looking to the future with our next questions. So my final question is: out of 10, what mark do you give the start to the Bengals season? And we'll start with Sam.
I'd say 5 out of 10. We've got a rookie quarterback in. We've got a lot of young new players. We've got a lot of new free agents in. It's almost like a fresh team. And despite the losses, I've said it many times. There's a lot of each game we watch. There's a lot of positives about this team, and that's one side of the 5 out of 10. But the other side, Lou Anarumo, defense, it's just been a bit shoddy. It's just, you just can't work it out. Do you remember I can't remember who it was against, where everyone was like, after the game, like, Anarumo's had a cracking game there. He's had a great game. I can't remember who it was against.
Oh, it was the Baltimore game. Because
even though we got stuffed, Like,
we stopped the run.
You know, including myself. I'm just like, wow, that were incredible. You know, despite the injuries as well.
Yeah.
But then, like, as the weeks have gone by, it's like, whoa, what's going on? I know we have had injuries, but I'm just like, what's going on here? We can't get a pass rush. And it's just been incredibly frustrating on that side of the ball. And but so that's why I'm like half and half on it. So that's why I've given 5 out of 10. I think there's a lot of positives, but there's still a lot of negatives.
All right, out of 10, Mike.
I'm going to give a 4. I'm a bit harsh, a bit harsher, and the reason why I'm harsh are that the fact that there are games that we should have won, we didn't, and in all the true NFL style, where it's no mercy, it's brutal out there. That those are the stats. The stats don't lie. We should have won those games. We should have a better record than we do. The Eagles game, the Colts game, the Browns game. That's 3 games that we should have won. We should have at least one of those. Our record should be so much better than it is, and I don't put that necessarily upon a large number of the players. I put that on 1 or 2 of them, and I put that at the hands of the coaches. There has been at times some really duff play calling, but I think on the play calling side of things, lessons have been learned, and we're starting to see a gradual improvement. I personally just worry is what is happening in practice or in coaching, just for a number of players out there who are, and for a number of niche areas of units that don't seem to be improving or in fact actually regressing. And that is, for me, a real concern going into the second half of the season, where on paper we have, quote, winnable games, but as Bengal fans, we've all been here before, where on paper we've gone into it thinking, let's go and get the W today. It shouldn't be so stressful, and they've gone and laid an egg. And it really concerns me that some of these units are not learning. They are costing us. They're costing us the W's, and I can only give them a 4 on that in that respect. It's not far away from a 5, and in actual fact, the leap to becoming a team that is probably the best of the rest is actually much closer than I'm possibly making out here. But on the looking back, it's a 4 out of 10 for me, and I think I'm being quite fair, if not harsh, with that.
Yeah, it's not too harsh, that, Mike. I don't think 4 is too harsh. I think fans will be all right with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter, what's your number on this one?
Well, I tend to be pretty positive and pretty optimistic. I tend to rebel against negativity when I see it, especially online. But Mike's spot on. Mike is spot on. I mean, if we approach this logically, 5 out of 10, halfway, that sees us having the 16th best, being the 16th best team in the NFL, having the 16th best offense, the 16th best defense, 16th best. We're not there. We can be there, and we can be there fairly quickly. We could be there by the end of the season. Well, maybe not the defense, but there are a lot of positives in that side. Young players progressing, the Jesse Bates, the Joe Burrows, the Tyler Boyds, the T. Higgins, the Auden Tates. There are plenty of them. There are also quite a few negatives as well. There's a lot of room for improvement. I'm going to split the difference between the guys. I'm going to go for 4.5 out of 10.
That's prime fence sitting there.
No, it's not. No. I'm definite 4.5. I've explained myself clearly.
So we're like the 18th best offense, 18th best defense.
There we go.
Now, I didn't mean 5 as in 5 out of 10. That means we're like halfway in the league. I'm just talking about the improvements, and that's why I stretched to a 5.
Well, listen,
for the Bengals, 5 out of 10.
If we're talking how far we have progressed from 2019 to 2020, we're talking 7s, 8s, or 9s, because we are completely different and we're completely improved. We're not where we need to be yet, but we will. But in terms of improvement, from one season to the next, we're much higher. But just generally, right now, I'm going for the 4.5.
holistically, my scores are 4 out of 10. But if I actually put this team now into certain situations, so 3rd and 7, backs against the wall, Burrow in the gun, out of 10, what number do I give for them to actually Burrow to pull off a move, execute the play, and reach the first down? I'm probably 7.5, and I think that's what it comes down to in these games. It's a conversion on the third down ratios, that's a great way to start. Yeah. But it will. I think I can see signs of improvement there, but holistically, it's a 4 out of 10 for the whole organisation.
I thought you were going to go Spinal Tap 11 then.
Can I just ask you this then before we move on to the next part? How many NFL teams, if we were playing them right now, would you feel we do not have a single chance, that we will not be in that game come the fourth quarter?
Well, one of them's in our division.
I think two of them are in our division.
The Browns aren't.
Let's think about it. I don't fancy us against Green Bay. I don't fancy us against Kansas City, and I don't fancy us against either the Ravens or Steelers. Everyone else.
Do you not fancy us to be in the game come the fourth quarter against Green Bay?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think there'd be too much defensive carnage. There'd be too much defensive carnage.
I mean, they've got one wide receiver. They've got one wide receiver. They've got a great quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback. They've got a decent running game. And one wide receiver. Yeah, and they've got a good secondary, and I accept that. But we could still run with them, certainly into the fourth quarter. I don't think there are many, is the answer to the question I posed. I agree with you about Kansas City. When they're clicking, they're going to be untouchable. Right? I suspect. And I think juries, ask me this again in 7 days' time after we play the Steelers. Ravens are the Ravens, but they're not pulling up any trees generally. Right now, it's a testament. Again, I'm using that word testament, but it's a testament to how far we have progressed. That we feel that we are in games, whereas last season we were out of games come the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right.
I don't disagree. I think the list of teams is spot on. Is that we are aiming to be best of the rest. In the time will come when it comes to that natural progression to challenging the teams that shall not be named who live in the state of Pennsylvania, the Ravens and the Packers. I just want to see the Bengals Packers just to watch live camera on Jamie and his dad watching the agony and ecstasy between both of you two.
We went to the last two games on that front. One of them was the hottest game ever to have been played at Lambeau Field. The opening kickoff temperature was 38 degrees Celsius, and was that
You've been to Lambeau?
Was that the game that William Jackson got a pick six against Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, it was. And it was also a game where we were 28-7 up and managed to screw it all up at the end, which is very, very Bengals. Okay, so we'll go on to the future now, and I'm intrigued about how the future looks. If you're sat there as Mike Brown on your big pile of money like Scrooge McDuck, what one thing would you do to improve the team at this moment? And I'll start with Sam on this.
Oh, big pile of money. To be honest, the way it's been going this season with the offense, I'm blanking.
Give it to Sam Manger.
I'm blanking the offense out, blanking it out, because I feel like that's just it's just pretty much there at the minute. It's not like it's a must improve.
But we can't do anything past trade deadline.
I'd say we need a pass rush. I mean, if we're talking about the draft, we're probably going to be picking, realistically, let's say top 8, top 7. And if we can get a decent pass rush, whether it's interior or exterior, that I'd be absolutely delighted with that. Somebody just dominant, because Gino's on the downslide. We've lost Carlos. We're missing pieces now. We have got weapons there on that defensive line. We have, but we just need that one. We need that one alpha. We need it. We just need it. We need that new Carlos Dunlap. I'm not saying get the replica of Carlos Dunlap, but just that force. Whether it's draft or free agent, I'd rather go draft than free agency because free agency will cost a hell of it. But you did save money though, didn't you? So yeah, let's say free agency. I can't think of players right now, but I'm saying draft. Get that dog on that defensive line.
I've not
now
seen
knowing that. Sorry, Peter. Now noting that one of my future questions is going to be about what we're looking at going into the off season. I'm going to kind of try and pull us back onto things that we can do by next week for this question. Now, I know that Sam wants some pass rush. I noticed that Tack McKinley has been axed by the Falcons this week. He's had his own kind of Carlos Dunlap style pity party going on over there. Is that a name that you'd be interested in?
On my part, any fresh pass rush will be an improvement because it's where we are desperately short. So yes, absolutely. He doesn't fit the mold of the normal Bengals pass rush, who must be at least 6'5", 6'6", and defensive end. That having been said, they drafted Carl Lawson, who's not. Tack McKinley is more like an outside linebacker in a 3-4 rather than our traditional 4-3. But we've been adapting, we've been changing. But absolutely, open your wallet, Mr. Brown, and let's sign someone like that. And because even if it doesn't work out, even if we have him to the end of the season and or to the end of his contract, whenever that is, I don't know, then there's a compensation pick coming away, and we all know how much Bengals love them. So absolutely, yeah.
I mean, Tack McKinley were a nice player coming out. I weren't that big on him, but I thought he went too early. But he's played in a Falcon system that play a 4-3. And he's not really proven much. He's not really done that much for me. And he's a crazy guy as well. Did you see him at the draft?
Yeah.
My word. But I've not got a list of, players I made right now. But yeah, just a dominant force on defensive line would be nice. And for Mike to spend some money. He already spent some money this offseason, so he might want to hold back a little bit. But yeah, defensive line, a nice force there would be lovely.
All right, and
into the niche of the defensive line, Sam, I'd like to see. It's not for me the edge, which is the issue. I think Carl Lawson's having a tremendous season, and for me, that's part of the reasons why Dunlap couldn't even get in the tip, get as a starter. And I think he had a bit of a tantrum simply over that. But for me, it's the interior pass rush has been really disappointing. We're not getting any pressure up the middle, and that Browns game, the last one was the prime example of that. Mayfield was getting far too much time in the pocket. All our attack was coming from the edge, and the Browns game planned against that. Whereas a bit of something in the interior, let's say the Gino role was missing it, and we were just getting shred to bits. If I'm Mike Brown and I'm sitting on Mr. Scrooge McDuck pile of money, my greatest concern would be the fact we're getting shredded to bits in the secondary at the moment. We really do need a bit of fresh ingenuity back there, a bit of a fresh presence. Unfortunately, being beyond the trade deadline, I can't. There isn't. The only one that screams to mind who is a free agent, but he was released by the Cowboys of all teams, is Clinton Dix. I say his standard of play is it has dropped off tremendously. Does he offer anything new to the team? Maybe.
I can't work it out with Clinton Dix. He's been at like 4 teams now. He only got drafted in like 14.
But
I think
he
was in that Beckham draft. Yeah.
But he's also he's a free safety, and that's the one position we're fine on. If we need anything, we need a cornerback opposite William Jackson because Sims, God bless him, has got exposed too often, and Phillips just hasn't really done it. Can I just come back on one point and just be slightly contrary with you? What I don't get is people bigging up Carl Lawson's season, because it's all right enjoying getting there. You've got to be able to finish. If you pardon the double entendre, and he doesn't. The sacks aren't there. How many times in our experience of watching the Bengals play the Steelers have we got to Big Ben, and not brought him to the ground, and he still managed to throw the ball? Right? We can't have people like Wilson putting pressure on quarterbacks and not finishing, and we just do not have the sack numbers. And I'm not 100% convinced that Lawson should be signed at the end of his contract this year, because he gets pressure, but he doesn't finish, and he's going to want a big contract. And I'm not sure the production is there for that.
Pressure can be big, I guess, but like you're saying, yeah, not finishing it is a big problem. But I do think an underrated stat, for defensive ends it's something we don't see on TVs is the run stopping, and we don't see that much. It's easy to kind of not see that on TV when you're watching it, but it's a stat you have to look at like after the games. If somebody's good at run stopping, it means a hell of a lot for your team. I mean, sacks is easier to see, and it's a glorified thing. Yeah, he's got him down, brilliant, which is good. But
this is a passing league.
Being a defensive lineman is both.
I agree, but this is a passing league.
Yeah.
You've either got to throw it well, you've got to protect the thrower, or you've got to hit the thrower. And now we're talking about hitting the thrower, and we've not got anyone who's hitting the thrower and putting them down. We need the run stoppers, and I think we have improved like that. DJ Reader coming back will help. Covington, I've been really impressed with him. Bledsoe is good against the run, but we're not getting to the passer, and that's what we need to look at.
Yeah, I agree.
1 second.
Bless you.
Bless you.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. I think I've managed to cover everyone there. Possibly not with the sneeze. What record do you think we'll end up with, and why? And we'll start with Pete.
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I think we've got 4 wins left in us. Right. Why? Because there are 5 games we can win, and we're not going to win them all. I'll call it now if you want. We're going to beat the Washington team. We're going to beat New York Giants. We're going to beat Dallas. We're going to beat Houston. And we'll actually lose to Miami, who are sneaky good. And all those Dolphin fans will come out going, Tua's better than Barrett. Oh, God. But so I've got a 6-9-1. So I've got my maths. I've got my maths right there.
6-9-1. Those are good maths. Assuming we don't tie any more games. Sam, what record do you think we'll end up with?
Peter, I agree, mate. I've got 6-9-1, but the teams are different. I've got us beating Giants. I've got us beating Dolphins, and I think that could sneakily be one of the best games we play this year for the fans to watch. That could be end to end. I think we'll beat the Cowboys, and I think we'll beat the Texans, like Pete said at the end. Cowboys
so not the Washington team.
Decimated right now.
So not the Washington team.
Can you imagine Washington against our offensive line? Like, it's absolutely fire, their defense.
Yeah, look at their quarterback.
Yeah, I know the quarterback, but it's just the defense I'm concerned about. It's like you can look at their quarterback, but you can look at our offensive line. It's like yeah.
All right, and Mike, what's your thoughts on
I have
the record?
For the remainder of the season, I have us beating I think we'll beat the Skins. I think we are just generally too good, and I think they are in a semi sort of tank state to get a high draft pick as possible. Beat the Giants, no comment. I don't think we'll get a result at the Dolphins, much to my chagrin. Anything to annoy certain British television hosts who have unarguable disdain for the Bengals would be lovely.
Neil Reynolds.
I think we'll beat the Cowboys in the Andy Dalton Bowl. Steelers, right off. Away at the Texans. Well, the Texans have got to be in a tank state again, so I think we'll get the win. And I actually think I think we'll beat the Ravens the last game of the season.
Whoa! There we go.
Hear me out. The reason is because I think Baltimore in the playoffs by then, they won't risk any more injuries, so they'll just put out the second string.
Yeah, Palmer said that the other day as well. He thinks that as well.
Yeah. So I think
is that a winning record that you've got to pitch with there?
No.
Is that 7-8-1?
No.
Sorry, I ran out of fingers.
I'm a bit more positive than you guys are. So my losses are to the Finns and and to the Steelers. So I think we're playing teams who are in a semi-tank, and then a team right at the end of the season who doesn't want to see the QB injured. Especially with Staley being ruled out the rest of the season, they ain't going to risk anything further.
And how many times have we beaten Ravens on the last game of the season?
Yeah.
Mike,
that's a reasonable point.
What have you got again, Mike?
Sorry, mate?
Who have you got again?
Wins against the Skins. I'm not called that anymore, are they? Damn it. Washington, Giants, Cowboys, the Andy Dalton Bowl, Texans, and Ravens will be.
That Ravens one. Wow. I love
We're sweeping Texas, boys.
Do you know where I am?
Go on, then.
If we beat Pittsburgh on Sunday.
Oh, don't tease.
And this isn't outside the realms of possibility here. Pittsburgh are kind of a bit beaten up, kind of a bit COVIDed up. Ben's doing his usual thing. Oh, Vic have fallen. And if we beat Pittsburgh, that's massive. That's a really big fillip for the team. I don't think we're particularly strong in areas, but there's something to be said for belief, and there's something to be said for having kind of a magician on your offense that can paper over a few cracks that you have, that can run about and make plays. Now I'm looking at the NFC East teams that we're set to face, and with the caveat that Sam raised about Washington's defense, I'm not fearing them. I'm not fearing any of them. I think there's 3 wins there. Houston, I think, will win. I think Houston are in full tank mode. Miami, now they're living by the turnover at the moment. They are going off the strength of their defense, which is going out, getting picks, getting fumbles. I think that might be something that doesn't hold up. So that's a win. And then it comes down to the final Steelers game, and it comes down to the Ravens at the end of the year. Now, ordinarily, you're looking at 2 of those teams, and neither of them are beatable on their day. Baltimore, if they're resting players, I think that drops to a 50-50. And at that point, you're looking at 8-7-1.
Playoffs,
and is
baby.
that good enough? Is that good enough for that third wildcard place?
Oh God! If we got to the playoffs, I'd lose my mind.
Let me make that point then. Do you want to go to playoffs?
Yes. I'm talking this into existence. If we get into the playoffs, I think there's a chance that we cause a bit of damage, and that's entirely down to the quarterback. You've seen years past.
All right, okay, let me give you this scenario. We sneak in as the last wild card pick. We get to play who? Well, it's not going to be the Chiefs.
Oh, God. We'll be playing...
it could be the Steelers again.
It'll be the Steelers. Well, it'll be the number 2 seed at that time.
Which could be the Steelers. Do you really want to play the Steelers in a wild card game again? Or do you want to leave it a year?
Yes. No, do it now. Do it now.
Right now.
All right, I like it, guys.
Let's beat them. I'm talking things into existence. We're trying to kind of conjure up a bit of good juju here. This is the good juju as opposed to the bad juju.
Let's not talk juju this week, shall we?
Let's talk. Let's just quickly, if we can, let's say we finished last seed in AFC. Think of the teams that won't get the bye, who finish top. So you're looking AFC North, Ravens probably. They're going to get a bye. AFC East, it's going to be Bills. Will they get a bye?
Well, yes.
Probably.
Well, do we know the makeup? Do we know how many buys there will be because of the increased size of the playoffs this year?
Is it two? Is it two that go on a buy still? It is, isn't it?
I think only one goes on a buy, but I'm not entirely sure. I think there's scope for doing a degree in the NFL playoffs this year. It's more labyrinthine than University Challenge. Right then. So that's a bit of positivity kind of injected into the room. I'm now going to pop it with a pin. Zach Taylor currently has the worst record of any Bengals head coach in all time. Should he get another year if we don't do anything for the rest of the
year? Yes. I'm not bothered about the record, Jamie. Those stats don't bother me. Who are you asking, Jamie? Anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
are we all having a bit of a?
Yeah, if you all of you have a go at it. I've got Sam started. Let's go, Michael. What's your call on Zach Taylor?
Well, we've just said we're going to be a playoff team, so he's going to get a new contract, isn't he? So we can't fire him now, can we? No, he's got to get another year. I can for me, I actually think he's grown, not only as a coach, but I think he's just grown as a person this season. Last season was a write-off, and I think deep down we all knew that. We rode that crest of the wave. That was our expectation. It was horrible. It was ugly at times, but it is what it is now. This season, there have been mistakes, and I think some of the company that Zach Taylor keeps could and should be better. But the guy has never hidden away from the media. He's never, criticised journalists. Like some of the way and some of the things that Marv used to say to journalists was downright was quite confrontational. Zach isn't about that. He wants to establish a good relationship with the media because I think he deep down he knows in the long term it will do him and this team more good than it will more good. But the stats aren't great. Nobody should be compared to Dave Schuler ever in it. But I think he will improve, and I think he does deserve at least another season. Because I think he himself, I look at him after the games, I think he's become a bit more authoritarian. I actually think the way that there was the whole Carlos Dunlap situation was handled was as well as it could be, and I think that was more down to him stamping down his authority that he is. But no one is bigger than the organisation. It's my organisation. It's my way or the highway. And I think for Mike Brown to back Zach in that circumstance, and considering how, by all accounts, that Carlos Dunlap is one of Mike Brown's favourite players, I think speaks volumes. I think that out of the shadows, I think we are starting to see this young man, he's the same age as me, 37, emerge out from the shadows. And it's not easy. He's got four kids. He's a young man with a young family, and he's in charge of an NFL franchise. And I think he's slowly getting to grips with it now, especially how brutal the league is, and it is completely no mercy. And I think we're starting to see that from him. So I think the seeds have been sown for a push to the playoffs, of course, this season, and for winning football. I'm not calling it a culture. The culture is winning football into next season. So I think he'll stay for one more season at least. Whether his supporting cast will, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, agreed, Mike.
Why would you sack him? Well, you'd sack him. Why would you sack a head coach? It's not just the record, because there are plenty of. I mean, every year, half the NFL coaches have losing records, just about. So it's not that, it's consistent failure, and this is the key point: no sign that it's improving. Right? No sign that it's improving, and that will see you get fired. So I ask you this: is there any sign that the Bengals are improving from last year? Well, we've already accepted yes. We're currently talking about them getting to the playoffs this season. Well, probably not going to happen, but the fact we can even talk about it, the fact we are enjoying our games, the fact that the crowd are more enthused, the fact that they've drafted really well and they're putting key players in place. Let's use the C word, culture, right? We can see this coming through now. And I think that the powers that be, Mike Brown, and if Zach is your age, Mike, then Mike Brown's more my age, he'll be able to see that. He'll be able to see how very different it is this season. Momentum is important in professional sports, and we've got momentum in the growth of the organisation, just not the results yet. Hopefully the results will come sooner rather than later, but everything's trending in the right direction. You've got to give this young coach some time.
I do agree.
Now, I'm going to
agree.
I'm going to throw a thing in here, which is obviously we've spoken about the rest of the way, that we have the 3 NFC East teams to play, that we have Houston to play. And those are 4 particularly moribund teams at the moment. If Zach loses 2-3 of those games, and then you're looking earlier to the season where there's perhaps in-game coaching decisions that have cost the team from winning, does that become the window through which the criticism comes at Zach? Because there's been negativity earlier on in the season, but if we lose a number of those games, I think it would become close to untenable.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking word, Jamie.
Criticism, yes.
I mean, oh, sorry, Pete. Go on.
Go on, Sam. No, go, Sam.
No. It won't be long. I was just going to say, cause I know you're not. I don't know how you are at minute, Jamie, but I know a few games ago you weren't on the Zach Taylor train, were you? Really? I don't know how you are now, but
I'm still not there. I'm willing to be. I'm willing to be persuaded, but I'm still not quite there.
I honestly think if Zach Taylor gets even one more win, I think he's bought his way into next year already. I think one more win, I think there's going to be loads of positivity going into the next few games. I mean, especially if we win the next game, if we win the Steelers, beat the Steelers, I think he's already bought his way into next season. For me, he's not a sackable coach right now. I think there's just too much positivity going on in this organization. I mean, I saw something the other day. It's like, Zach Taylor's. I put something like Zach Taylor's helping Burrow out massively, and somebody put like, no, Burrow's helping Zach Taylor. Now, I don't agree with that. I think it's a bit of both. And I think if Zach Taylor gets, another 3 or 4 wins, can you imagine what it's going to be like next season? There's going to be so little pressure on him. If Zach Taylor comes away with 6 wins at the end of this season, that's going to be almost a success with a rookie quarterback and the amount of injuries that we've had.
I don't know really why we're talking about the prospect or the possibility of him being sacked, because the person who's going to pull the trigger is Mike Brown, and he just doesn't do that. He doesn't react like that. We know he doesn't. Zach Taylor's got another 14 years or so before Mike Brown will even consider this. To me, I agree with you about one more win. I think 2 wins, so he finishes with 4.5 wins in total, which is more than double what he had last season. And clear sign of progress, how he's done in the draft, some good young players coming through. Everyone will continue to be excited. I think he's safe. I don't think he's on the hot seat at all.
All right. I'm going to say 3 questions left. So the first one is, what is the biggest need heading into the off-season?
Pass rush. And
Pass rush.
Mike, what do you think?
Defensive tackle for me. I think we need an absolute dog there to fire up this defense. We've got our leader on the offense. Let's go and get like Sam put an absolute, someone hungry, someone up for a fight. You can really lift the defense. Let's go get an absolute animal at DT, and I think a lot of problems on that side of the ball will be solved.
I'm going to flip it on its head. Obviously, AJ might be on the way out, and I'm not sold on Drew Sample at all. I would like to see us get a creative pass catching tight end if there is one available. I don't know how we'd come across it. I don't know how we'd do it, but I think that could be the biggest boost and the biggest assistance that we could get to Joe for this team.
Jamie,
yes.
Jamie, just very quickly on the draft, because as I said, I watch college football a lot, and I don't see a dominant pass rusher out there. Edge rusher out there. Okay, Gregory Rousseau is supposed to be the best. He's no top 5 pick or anything like that. I think that there's some decent depth there. I prefer the defensive tackles to get that dog that Mike is talking about. We're not going to go and get a tight end in the first round because it's just not what Bengals do, and we've got greater needs. But to your point, there are some really good tight ends out there, pass-catching tight ends. They're currently questioning whether the Florida one, Kyle Pitts, I think his name is a potential rival for Heisman. He's been that good. He is dynamic. One other position of need, I would suggest, cornerback. All right. We hope that Trey Waynes will be the answer. We don't know. We hope that we can re-sign William Jackson. We don't know. But look behind them. Sims, Phillips. This is what's happened when you get 1 or 2 injuries, and there are injuries every single year. So to me, I'm wanting to see a high pick, maybe a round 2 pick for a really good cornerback.
Are we all saying right now? Let's say if we pick 8th in the draft, 7th. Are we all saying pass rush?
I might not be. I'm generally best player available, and I'm thinking I'm wanting to get help for Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, a few sites have projected that Leatherwood of Alabama. Will be sitting at 8. You don't think
that's too high? I'm with you about an offensive tackle, but if we're 7 or 8 and there's not someone more exciting, I'm trading down to mid-teens and picking up Leatherwood then. There are some really good depth offensive tackles. There's Cosme at Texas, who will be in the 20s. There's a guy in North Dakota State. There's a Carmen at Clemson. They're early second rounds, possibly. Yeah, there are plenty of offensive tackles out there. If we are that high, we either... I wouldn't be totally upset if we said to Joe Burrow, "You're our man. We'll go and get you your guy. We'll go and get Jamar Chase, the wide receiver, who may be available around 7, the best wide receiver in that draft. Put him, Auden Tate, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins," and Joe Burrow is saying, "Thank you very much." Right? But that would be a luxury.
Jamar Chase would be awesome, but I think he's a giant. I think he's a New York Giant written all over him. That the heir to the Odell Beckham Junior throne. Sadly.
But the underestimated target for Joe Burrow last season, everyone talks about Jamar Chase, fantastic. Terrence Marshall was an absolute dog, and he's been brilliant this season. And it looks like he's going to be in the latter end of the first round. But yeah, I'm up for trading down, unusually for us, because I wouldn't want someone like Leatherwood in the top 10.
All right, then. And the final thing, and this is kind of more of a job interview question, but we can bring it here and we can make it work here. I'll start with Mike on this. Where do you see us in a year's time?
I see us, and I'll go back to what I'm saying about best of the rest. I think we go into games against the so-called cannon fodder with the with walking out the tunnel that we've already won. I think that we need to concentrate on picking up those wins on the road, because all of Zach Taylor's wins have been at BBS thus far. We need to get that monkey off our back. I personally think this time next year, 365 days from now, the madness will be over. The crowds will be back. We're probably sitting, hopefully, maybe 5-2.
Yep.
I think that's achievable.
I've got mine. Push for 9 wins. We've drafted or got somebody in the free agency. a right tackle or a right guard. What else? I think we'll be competitive. I think we'll push for most 9 wins. That's what I think we're pushing for. I think Joe Burrow could possibly be. How many games are we in now?
We're 8 games into his career.
He's going to be on 2,500 yards. Yeah, I'm going to keep it at that. I'm just going to keep it at that.
All right.
2,500 yards. We're going to push for 9 wins. And Burrow's going to be a sensation. And we've picked up a lineman. And this team's going to be massively improved by this time next year. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to think too much into it. That's all I'm saying.
All right, and Pete, to round off, where do you see
in 12 months? In 12 months' time, I would have offered Joe Burrow the hand of my daughter in marriage. That we wouldn't be talking about can we slip into the playoffs. We're talking about can we get a home field advantage in the playoff, and we will be looking at so many prospective Pro Bowlers that Paul Hirons and Nathan Palmer will be doing the podcast naked every single week.
I'm liking it. Right, so thanks a lot to Mike, to Peter and Sam for joining us today, and thank you for watching today. Cheerio and hoo day.
Good day.
Good day, everyone.
Good day.